Much more impressive than the Hedgehog I fought previously.
Dude, I'm standing right here.
You're a colorful bunch.
We don't want to fight you.
Actually, Sonic, I would like to fight.
No, no! Can we just talk about this?
Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and Knuckles, and Tails, and Shadow, and Rouge, maybe? Or that weird sexy skater bird, or maybe Wisps, or Classic Sonic, or hey Styx, who wants to see Styx? She's voiced by Cree Summer, remember that show? Ah man, do I wish these movies had Sonic Boom's comedic writing. That show is just pure gold. Anyway, back to this movie. Yes, it's the third Sonic film. Going back, I thought the first was okay, the second was a lot of fun when the humans weren't involved specifically, and now what do I think of 3? It's smashing records and critics and audiences seem to love it, and I gotta be honest, I really don't understand why. Now, full disclosure, I had probably the worst theater experience I've ever had going to see this movie. As part of a present for a friend who is a huge Sonic fan, my group got advanced screening tickets in 4DX seats, those seats that kind of move around and spray water and air at you to be more immersive. I had never been in one of those seats before, so I wasn't sure what to expect, but I found it more distracting than anything else. Also, it almost made me drop my popcorn several times too, which is annoying, but that's just the seats. The audience was the worst part. Just awful. I mean, people were having full-on normal volume conversations between rows, others were shouting at the screen every now and then, and the cheers at every single Easter egg, no matter how small they were deafening. I've never heard cheers like that, not in Star Wars, not in the Avengers or Spider-Man movies. It was ridiculous. I am all for audience interaction and excitement, but when a piece of clothing gets the same cheers as the Avengers Assemble moment from Infinity War Part 2, it definitely feels a little weird. My friend had a blast, so I'm happy for him, but for me it was an awful experience to sit through. That being said, I want to stress that I am doing my best to go at this review as unbiased as possible and judge the film on its own merits, not how I was feeling at the time. That being said though, I've never heard so many cheers for such a mid-movie. The film's just okay. There's nothing special in this movie or anything you haven't seen before besides the Sonic characters, I guess. The film is decent at best, and I'll explain why here shortly. I really wanted to like this movie, especially since I like number 2, and that I felt like it could have improved on that just a little bit if it lessened the involvement of the humans, and I'm sorry, this just ain't it, Chief. There's a whole host of issues in this film, including a completely dropped plotline that makes no sense and is never explained. So, the hell. Let me get into it, point by point, and we'll see if you guys agree with me or not. Also, I just want to stress that, hey, these opinions are mine. I'm not upset if someone else enjoyed the film. In fact, I'd love for others to enjoy it. I'm not a stuck-up critic who thinks that my word is final. Let me share my points, and then let me hear yours in the comments below. I always appreciate it. So, let's get into it. What is this movie even about? After the events of Sonic 2, a new hedgehog suddenly appears named Shadow. Team Sonic must team up with an unlikely ally to take down Shadow and discover his origins and foil a dastardly plan. Ooh, right away the plot is fine. A little cheesy, a little obvious, but fine. I'm honestly not expecting much else from a Sonic movie, so sure, it works. However, the main issue the movie has is the pacing. Just like the Blue Blur himself, this movie just zooms by at a breakneck speed. There's barely any time to rest or have heartfelt moments, but there is time for Jim Carrey to hijack the film for several minutes at a time. Shadow does get a couple of heartfelt moments, but one is an annoyingly whimsical montage. I feel like Shadow just needed a lot more slower backstory scenes to really flesh his character out. His flashbacks are relegated to one scene in a very short montage that is all the visuals you've already seen in any similar movie ever made. It's so cloying and excessive. Either tone it down or explore the relationship more. He and Maria are just friends immediately. It's just weird. I feel like we could have explored his character a lot more. I do feel like the filmmakers just figured the audiences already knew who Shadow was, so they didn't have to go into character development. And that's lazy. I'm sorry. The heartfelt moments in the climax felt rushed too. Like we're just hurrying through it to get back to the action. Which, okay, but take a little bit of time. I'll give the film credit in that it gives the fans exactly what they want to see at multiple different points. It's just annoying to me personally that the slower, more poignant moments get tossed to the side for fan service. This movie is nothing but fan service. Another glaring issue I have that I haven't seen anybody bring up is an entirely dropped plotline that is never explained or brought up again, even in the post-credit scenes. There's a character named Rockwell that is shown to potentially have ulterior motives and is working against both groups to get her hands on a MacGuffin, but once the climax starts, she just leaves the movie, never to be seen again. It's ridiculous. Why set that up? Why give her important scenes and backstory? She has a fun action scene, so that's cool, but did the movie just forget she existed so it could focus on superpowered rodents? Come on, you can't just introduce a plot and then drop it. I'm sorry, but that's a huge gripe for me. The plot is just really mid too and just feels meandering at times as well. There's several moments where Jim Carrey hijacks the film for a couple minutes at a time to literally play with himself. It feels egregious and has maybe only one or two decent jokes in it. I love Jim Carrey, but this just felt way too overindulgent. Several of those scenes could have been cut entirely or replaced with character dialogue or flashback scenes with Shadow. Which I'm sure the fans would have wanted more of too, so As for the voices, they're fine. Ben Schwartz is still a fun Sonic, even though his, I assume, ad-libbed one-liners don't always hit or feel authentic. He still has one or two that work really well. He still just has a great Sonic energy overall. Colleen O'Shaughnessy is still iconic as Tails. There is just no replacing her ever. Thank God they didn't pick some other Hollywood elite to play him. She's great. Idris Elba as Knuckles is just a ton of fun. Easily the best character in this movie and Sonic 2. He's just really enjoyable to watch. He's a lot of fun. Unfortunately though, Keanu Reeves as Shadow leaves a lot to be desired. Most of that is personal preference, but I just don't think Reeves can voice act convincingly. He sounds the same, like in all his other recent films. It's John Wick as a hedgehog, and while that reads cool on paper and in my head, it doesn't sound great. He's monotone and stiff with absolutely zero inflection. Honestly, it's kind of boring, and that's a shame. I don't mind the gruffness. Shadow should be gruff, but at least get a little creative with the delivery. Instead, it's just, I want revenge. I'm gonna get revenge. Maria, revenge. It's boring. Oh well. Lastly, I want to point out Elila Brown as Maria, who is also just okay. She barely has any lines and does the best with what she's given, but that's about it. She's a far cry from how she was back in Sting. Bit of a shame, honestly. Oh, and speaking of audio, I noticed a sound mixing issue several times in this movie, where the Sonic characters themselves just sounded a little off. Like Jim Carrey would say a line and Sonic would answer, but he'll sound like he's in a recording booth. What I mean is his voice is much, much clearer and doesn't naturally echo in the environment like Carrey's lines do. It's too clean and it's noticeably present in several scenes outside of the action. It's not a big deal, I guess, but it still drags the overall product down some. Otherwise, I think that's most of the issues I had with this movie. But it's strange. I talked to some friends who saw the film, and while some of them are Sonic fans and some of them aren't, most of them all pointed out the issues I had as strengths. One said the film was paced fantastically, others absolutely loved Reeves as Shadow, and still others thought Jim Carrey should have had more scenes with himself. And that just leaves me sitting here going, Am I missing something here? The only thing everyone I talked to agreed with me on was the dropped Rockwell plot. Most of them had to be reminded that it even existed, and everyone all agreed that the movie is best when you don't think about it and turn your brain off. And that feedback leaves me with a conundrum. Maybe if I had a better experience, I would rate the movie higher. I don't mind a dumb turn your brain off movie, but it should still have thoughtful parts to it. Like, pacing is important to me. Clunky exposition and tired morals are dull to me. Maybe if I was a Sonic fan, I could give in and squeal with delight at every little Easter egg sprinkled throughout, but I also don't think that should come at the cost of the overall plot. This movie is fan service, but it should still have a serviceable plot. So, in the end, I'm not really sure what to do here. By all accounts, and how I score things, this is an extremely mid-tier movie. It's basic. It just doesn't have a lot of redeeming factors. But on the other hand, everyone else seems to love it. So I think this is a time where I might be missing something, or just accept that this movie really wasn't made for me. It was made for fans who simply want to see their favorite character and game pieces put to film in a respectful way, which I'll admit it is. That is exactly what this is. And I think that's fine. But it bugs me that it could have been so much better. You know me, if a film can be better, I welcome it to be. So, in the end, I've got to stick with my morals and my rating, but I'll tell you now to judge the film on its own accords and your own likes. My score is my score, and yours will probably be different, especially if you are a Sonic or Shadow fan. You'll probably have a ball with this film, so tell me down below in the comments. I want to hear it. Let me know. So ultimately, Sonic 3 gets a 6 out of 10 from me. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for another one. Yeah, I know, 6 out of 10, boo. It's not a 5, I could have given it a 5, but that wouldn't really fit with my rating system. So, I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I just don't like how this movie decided to go for certain scenes and certain aspects of it. I'm glad my friend had a good time. I'm glad everyone in the theater seemed to have an amazing time. But, I never want to experience that again. I am never going back to a fan screening of a Sonic movie. Holy hell, absolutely not. You cannot make me. That was terrible. I don't know why people just forego manners because fans, but it's very weird to try and focus on a film when people are having full-on conversations around you. It felt like I was in the middle of a party, but also in one of those simulator rides at a amusement park. It was just a pain in the ass. I hated it. But otherwise, I thought it was just okay. A lot of missed opportunities. I'm still pissed about that Rockwell plot. Why even bring it up? Why even show us that? What's the point? Either way, it's Sonic. I'm sure you'll all have a great time. The end credit scenes are hype, so sure, have fun with that. We're definitely getting a Sonic 4. I'll probably watch it, but not at a fan event, please God. And next week is Nosferatu, so I'm gonna have some fun with that, hopefully. It's getting great reviews, but hey, so was Sonic, so who knows? Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. After that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a video. And yeah, that's it. Have a great day, and if you're not, have a better one. See ya.
I'm just a ghost in your stereo. The fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just